Hello everyone, welcome to 30 Art Circle. It is time for the most awaited event for the calendar year of cricket. It's time for the English summer, which has begun. The first test match has sort of begun. West Indies got out for 121. August Atkinson, incredible performance on his debut, 7 wickets for 45 runs. Absolute Tom Hartley levels of performance, and I would say even better. What do you think? Actually, Tom Hartley got those 7 wickets in India in second innings, so maybe Tom Hartley was better. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful start for to the English summer, and we were all looking for it. हम जब बात करते हैं कि two or three events that you look forward to in a calendar year. सबसे पहले you look up to any world event, कोई World Cup, World T20, or even the World Test Championship for that matter. उसके अलावा the second thing people look up to is either any tour to uh, one of Australia or South Africa or the English summer. So I think इनमें से for me personally, looking at uh, the different cricketing atmospheres and ecosystems around the world, the the English summer is something that stands out. And I think बहुत अच्छा start हुआ है for England. Not so much for the West Indies, हम उस पर डिटेल में जाएंगे. But I agree कि Tom Hartley वाले levels, I think it was something very different doing something in India. But I think उसके अलावा भी I think they have Gus Atkinson has done something pretty well. मैच भी अगर देखें हम अब इस पे बात करेंगे आगे जाके. I think start में going forward progressing and then bowling that spell, I think it's something really good bowling that well after the first 10 overs.
Yeah, so basically, this episode is sort of more of a broader view on the English summer. We are not just going to restrict ourselves to this test or this series. We are going to see how England is planning out this summer, as well as Ashes, because they've been talking about it a lot. The Ashes in Australia, they really want to win it, and they're basing this summer as the starting point for that series in Australia in 2027, I believe. Now, to start, the headline of this English summer, Jimmy is retiring. Now, Jimmy Anderson is someone who actually he is saying it himself that he is at his best right now. And I sort of disagree. I mean, he didn't have the best Ashes, and to, today, I mean, he bowled economically, he bowled well, but he was not able to take those wickets. So, not at his best. But still, don't you think Jimmy still stands to be the best England bowler? And it is a wrong move from Brent McCullum and Ben Stokes to sort of move on from him, because we all know that it was them who took this decision, not Jimmy.
I, I think इसमें दो तीन चीजें हैं to look at, not just the fact के what Baz and Ben Stokes had in mind or what Jimmy Anderson himself had in mind. I think every athlete, every pro cricketer for that matter, they have that that point in their life वो curve का एक वो high hit करते हैं, they hit the high of the bell curve, and then we all know how mean how that mean reversal, or you could say that mean settles itself down. So I think Jimmy is now at the the lower end of that bell curve, and everyone knows it. People do not say it out loud. वो नहीं कहना चाहते because of the stature of the of the player. यानी जिम्मी जितना बड़ा खिलाड़ी है, the big player he is, and the wins he has brought on for England, the way he's जितने spells he's performed everywhere in every country they've visited. अब कुछ लोग होते हैं, people said that he's just someone who does well in England at home, but his numbers, although they are not as good as what he is at home, हर bowler का अलग opinion होता है. People have different opinions on everyone else, but I think Jimmy is one bowler from the English ranks who has done splendidly well for the England bowling lineup across all the places they visited, home tours and away tours. So I think उसको discredit नहीं करते हुए, if you say this कि right now where Jimmy is, I think is the right moment for them to be moving on from Jimmy. uh, ये बात भी कंसिडर करनी है कि व्हाट दे लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू. आपने वो वाली बात की थी अबाउट द एशेस अप्रोचिंग, एंड आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग दैट इफ यू लुक at a broader scale, how England basically does its homework. किस तरह वो साइकिल्स ऑफ टूर्नामेंट्स और यू कुड से सीरीज पे बिलीव करते हैं, नॉट जस्ट पर्टिकुलर स्पैन और टाइम पीरियड। जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे द अदर डे अबाउट पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट टीम, हम बात कर रहे थे हमारी मैक्सिमम क्या व्हाट डू वी लुक फॉरवर्ड टू एज अ पाकिस्तानी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर। कोई भी नया एडमिन आता है पाकिस्तान में, व्हाट डू दे लुक फॉरवर्ड टू? दे गो फॉर यार ये वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है अगले एक साल के अंदर, या ये सीरीज आ रही है अगले 5 सीरीज आ रही हैं एक साल के अंदर। हमारा जो टारगेट है, जो लॉन्ग टर्म टारगेट है, वो ये सीरीज है। So people do not understand around the world, even most countries, mein, the basic definition of short-term and long-term targets with respect to cricket. And I think for that matter, England can be taken as a prime example. Jimmy की बात पे उसको expand करते हुए कि how they're moving on from him while expanding their fast bowling attack, and they also building it on, यानी उसको किस तरह वो change कर रहे हैं, shuffle कर रहे हैं, moving on from a specific type of bowlers. I think you have something on it, आप उस पर बात करोगे further also कि how they moving on from a specific type of bowling attack to a different type of bowling attack, उसको कैसे मोल्ड कर रहे हैं वो, एंड हाउ विल इट इम्पैक्ट देयर परफॉर्मेंस। आई थिंक ये सारी चीज़ें अगर आप कंसिडर करते हो ओवरऑल, सो आई थिंक इट इज़ नॉट अ वेरी बैड डिसीजन। वी ऑल नो कि एक तो वो 700 विकेट्स वाला माइलस्टोन भी है, एवरीथिंग्स ऑन द लाइन। आई थिंक जिमी हैज अचीव्ड फार मच देन एनी अदर प्लेयर could have done from England, even any other pacer. Why? I think एक उसमें biggest factor is his fitness, the way he's been able to maintain it so far throughout his career. I think एक बहुत बड़ा factor है। It should not be, and I think कि ये एक role model होना चाहिए for any young and upcoming fast bowler from anywhere around the world. How to if you're fit, your career would be full of longevity, and you'll have all the success in the world if you're fit. So I think
Yeah,
ये बहुत बड़ा है।
yeah. And you were talking about how the curve sort of ends for every fast bowler, like the bell curve always comes down, and most of the fast bowlers have their bell curves coming down at the age of 33, 34. But that's interestingly, that's more of a start of the peak of Jimmy Anderson. If you look at his career,
Yeah.
that was the time when he started to perform well in India and Australia. And I know, like, he was 2012 थोड़ी सी पुरानी बात हो गई है, but like there's this video on the internet which has the compilation of Jimmy Anderson's wickets in India in 2012 in that Test series. England won that, and like it was incredible. I mean, that video is probably my favorite cricket video on YouTube. The way that guy bowls, and like it's so different from how he bowls in England. That shows how skillful he is. And yeah, and Jimmy Anderson, he has to be the best bowler of best Test match bowler of all time. I mean, a lot of people say that Dale Steyn has 421 wickets, maybe more than that in lesser matches, and how Vakar Yunus, if we calculate Vakar Yunus wickets, if he had played around the matches Jimmy had played has played, so it would have been much more. But I don't know. It just feels that because of longevity, Jimmy is the best chess bowler of all time.
यार 700 विकेट्स लेना कोई आसान काम थोड़ी ना है। यू हैव टू फैक्टर इन अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स, उसमें इंजरीज आती हैं, यू हैव टू लुक एट डिफरेंट सेटअप्स। इंग्लैंड के अंदर ही कितने दे हैव मूव्ड ऑन फ्रॉम डिफरेंट सेटअप्स विद इन देयर मैनेजमेंट और देयर लीडरशिप रोल्स। तो उसके साथ कंटिन्यू करना विद द सेम zeal, सेम परफॉर्मेंस एंड डूइंग वेल, 700 विकेट्स इज नो जोक यार। I would completely agree with your point on this. कि Jimmy is probably the best all-time fast bowler. You could argue कि भाई पुराने players में से, but we do not have enough sample size, equivalent to Jimmy Anderson to compare both of them. आप recent era में तो खास तौर पे I would 100% agree कि he is the best uh, fast bowler.
Someone around 2 years ago calculated how many wickets bowlers would have taken if they had played 160 matches, because Jimmy ने उस time पे तक 160 खेले थे, and Steyn had like 750 wickets, and Vakar Yunus had 664, and even Imran Khan had like 594 wickets, more than Wasim Akram. So yeah, I mean, but still, I do agree that longevity की वजह से, like, he has to be the best bowler of all time. And I think we mentioned how he improved in his later age, and that might have been because he moved on from limited overs cricket. 2015, I mean, it was I think it was a mutual decision. Strauss was the director of cricket in England at that time, and I think they moved on from Broad and Anderson, and they sort of agreed to that too. Like they could understand what England was trying to do, and it actually paid off as well in 2019 and then 2022.
Uh,
But yeah,
Adding on to that, I think Broad and Anderson, if you look at on a bigger perspective, I think कि ये दो players हैं जिन्होंने cricket में after the induction or introduction of T20 cricket or franchise cricket, जो professionalism in cricket है, which you could say limiting yourself to a specific format or formats, 2 out of 3. In that case, I think इन्होंने ये एक तरह से they were the pioneers to do that on such a stage कि I always remembered कि England आ रही होती थी or they were able to play any other tournament around the world. So we had in mind कि they'll be looking at a different set of bowlers because टेस्ट में तो हमारे whenever we used to talk about it भाई टेस्ट सीरीज आ रही है against England in England for example पाकिस्तान is touring England. So क्या दो चीजें हम देखते थे, एक हम देखते थे कि our batters struggling, opening up against Jimmy and Stuart Broad. And दूसरी चीज we would look forward to was seeing our bowlers bowl in bowling friendly conditions, one out of n times of the year. So I think ये दो चीजें थी, बट उसके अलावा भी आई थिंक जो मैं बात कर रहा था पहले कि ये लिमिटिंग योर सेल्फ टू अ स्पेसिफिक फॉर्मेट just to increase your increase that volatility point or saturation point of your career so that you'll be able to persist for long, have a longer career. So उस fact को I think this is something that could be further studied upon कि किस तरह had Jimmy not taken that step, had he been available for all the formats and different things, तो उससे क्या effect होना था towards his performance in this format. क्या the number of wickets would have been lesser और क्या performance होनी थी. I think this is something we could ponder upon.
yeah. I mean, it's like all diving into the would have, could have, and should have. If Jimmy had actually not retired from limited overs, and very interestingly, Jimmy is actually also the highest wicket taker for England in ODIs, as far
Oh,
as I
yeah.
think. I'm not sure
Yeah.
about it, but so that just shows that he was extremely skillful with the white ball too. Now, we all know that Jimmy's farewell is sort of attached to a direction England is taking. Now, England is now emphasizing on getting bowlers with pace. Like that is what Rob Key is saying. Like he's blatantly saying that हमें pace वाले bowlers चाहिए, and we don't. It doesn't matter if you move the ball around इतना ज़्यादा. You need to have pace because we want to win in Australia. That is our main goal. And I think for that they have sort of shortlisted bowlers like Gus Atkinson. Obviously, we mentioned him, but then Matthew Potts, Josh
Yeah.
Tongue played really well last time. Ollie Stone is someone who they look towards, but he's very injury prone. Mark Wood, obviously, yeah, Mark Wood is that kind of bowler, and this Pennington guy that they've selected, he's going to be making his debut, replacing Anderson at Trent Bridge in the second test, and then there's this Sam Cook, and Joffrey Archer is going to join in too
Yep.
eventually. I mean, we just hope that he doesn't get injured again. So it's a very exciting direction that England is taking. But do you think obsession with that one kind of bowler might actually go on to bring some negative results as well?
Yeah, I think वो the fact कि there are different types of bowlers उसमें है कि if you look at Ollie Stone and the way he bowls, थोड़ी सी he's a height वाला, he's a bowler with some height on him and he has different lengths that he caters to. उसके अलावा भी I think कि if you look at the bowlers who have survived this period, who are moving on from baseball to baseball 2.0, I think उसमें you have to look at the fact that Chris Foakes will be there. They will not be leaving him out for the, बिल्कुल initially तो they won't be leaving him out. So Chris Foakes, what does he bring? He brings in that he's not a high speed bowler, high pace bowler. He has that very good length and he can move the ball around. So I think they're not entirely letting go of the idea of having seam bowlers, but I think they want to move on to high pace bowler. तो उसमें I think दो चीजें ये भी consider कर सकते हैं कि if you look at having Jofra Archer, Mark Wood, Chris Foakes, and along with him you could have a rally of these 4 or 5 young bowlers. You could experiment with one or two of them within each series until you have a pack of 6 to 8 fast bowlers who are equally, who are not all undercooked, equally cooked as Sare. They have played, they have spent time in the middle with the ball in tough situations and good against good oppositions. Basically, they are all leading this to the Ashes that you talked about earlier. So I think ये एक बहुत एक look ahead point है for England cricket because they rely a lot on the Ashes and their performance over there. Uh, you could say people tend to look at World Test Championships, but वही मैंने जो वो short term, long term goals वाली बात की, for many sides in cricketing nations, World Test Championship भी एक calendar event, it's a short term goal for them. For many, they're moving on to the broader scheme of things. They're looking at a number of years, a span of time. उस पे देख के they're talking about how they should perform over a specific number of years and then move forward. हमारे यहाँ तो if you look at एक जैसे just to throw in an example from Pakistan, if you look at the fast bowlers we had just going forward from 2017 or 2018, you had the lights of Mohammad Abbas bowling the medium pacer. You completely let go of some of the paces you had. Now you had Hassan Ali being a regular feature of your side, and now you've just completely moved on from them. I'm not saying that both have different circumstances. हमारे पास the resources in Test cricket, especially in the fast bowling department. If you rule out Shaheen and Asim, तो उसके बाद बहुत scarcity है. About the quality bowlers, वैसे general bowlers तो बहुत मिल जाएंगे आपको. You have to look at that filter that the English setup puts in for their county structure and the Pakistani setup puts in for the Pakistan domestic structure and then compare. तो उस filter को जब आप compare करोगे तो you would realize कि हम उस quality को filter out ही नहीं कर पाते. And England on the other hand, I know it's too early to say because these players have not, some are debuting and some have even not debuted or even played a match for the international side. But you could say, looking at the county performances, कि they are promising. They promise to deliver in the future years. So I think उस बारे में अगर आप देखो तो comparison में just to have a comparison between Pakistan and England, I think England is leading the way because of the fact that they know how to you know फिल्टर देयर क्वालिटी. और हमें ये अभी तक समझ में नहीं आया ये मैकेनिज्म कि हम अपनी रिसोर्सेज को फिल्टर आउट कैसे कर सकें. एंड आई थिंक जिमी से रिलेट करते हुए कि हाउ दे मैनेज टू बिल्ड अ बॉलिंग लाइनअप अराउंड जिमी एंडरसन or you could say for that matter Stuart Broadby, because दो bowlers तो ball नहीं कराते ना. You have an ideal bowling attack of 5 or 6 bowlers, sixth one being a part timer, or in some test cases you have at least 4 bowlers. तो आप उस केस में अगर देखो so they build their bowling attacks around Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson. तो आप उसको अगर compare करो I mean for almost a decade both of these players had played together. So उन 10 सालों में they managed to develop 4 or 5 quick bowlers for different time periods. You had there were times when they had Tim Breslin and Stephen Finn bowling in Test cricket in their early 2010s and all. उसके बाद you have moved on. They have now Chris Foakes and Mark Wood and they had Ollie Robinson. Ollie Robinson भी बात कर सकते हैं वैसे उसका भी interesting case है वो रॉब की ने बात की थी उसके बारे में. So I think
Yeah, I was just
बोलो.
saying Eric Robinson को तो उन्होंने कह दिया है कि like you need to increase your pace otherwise you're out. Like he has said that on air on the Sky podcast with Nasir and Nathers.
Yeah, so I think correct this. They're not depriving him of the fact to play, the county cricket. They're providing him the avenue to improve. but I think age is also not on his side because वही fast bowling curve वाली बात आ गई कि to have this drastic improvement at such an age will be pretty hard for a bowler. Usually इस stage of the career पे लोगों का pace कम ही होता है. We have never seen or we rarely seen people's pace going upwards. So I think it will be an uphill task for him also. But I think Ollie Robinson has done pretty well for England as well, considering जो बीच में एक आध सीरीज के लिए they had the experimentation of playing different types of bowlers. I think ये summer will be a very good time for us to see the test case being put into implementation from the England Cricket Board and the England management setup कि वो किस तरह इनको manage करते हैं and do they manage to get something out of it. क्या ये सारे bowlers को use करेंगे आगे जाके, इनमें से कितने who will be the next. We know it's very hard because of the number of tests now being played. We could see a potentially next someone being the next Jimmy Anderson or Stuart Broad, but who could be the next potential Jimmy Anderson? Yani, who could show that spark to become the next Jimmy Anderson? ये हम देख सकते हैं. Who could have that energy that Jofra Archer brings? How could they pair Archer and Vokes and Mark Wood together? So I think is सब पे we'll have to keep a close eye that how England does its thing.
Okay, you mentioned how uh, county cricket. You mentioned county cricket, right? Like Ollie Robinson has a chance to go to county cricket. So interestingly, there's a lot of things going on in county cricket as well, in the shape of county cricket reforms, and like there's a lot of resistance from the boards, the county boards, but Rob Key has sort of put his foot down this time, and so basically what was happening was that England England was essentially going through a crisis of batters or bowlers. I don't know. The what it was कि इंग्लैंड की डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेट में जो है वो Darren Stevens and people like him were sort of coming out on top. For reference, Darren Stevens is a 47-year-old right arm medium, and so that was just showing कि कितना ज़्यादा जो है वो out of balance जो है वो domestic cricket हुई भी है, and so Rob Key has sort of decided to sort of make the pitches more balanced and actually more sort of inclined towards batting and he's also using Kukapura balls for like 25% of the season because again the emphasis is on Australia. Okay, Australia mein jeetna hai. So that is actually extremely interesting. The Surrey board chairman, I don't know if we call them boards or what, but like the Surrey chairman has actually gone public and he said like it's ridiculous what's happening in county cricket right now. So there's this real battle for about the ideology what England cricket is taking right now as well in the domestic cricket, and that sort of reminds me of Pakistan cricket and how that shift happened from bowling friendly conditions to batting friendly conditions when the domestic system changed, when the Wasim Khan system came in, the 6 teams one. So you want to shed some light on that, Aram?
Yeah, just before talking about it, I think कि ये भी बात कर सकते हैं कि they could have been they can be a potential negative impact on all of this planning around the Ashes. Do you see England actually going from helping its bowling resources, fast bowling resources, to eventually downsizing or being in a potential disaster in all of this as an outcome? You could not rule it out because they're completely changing their county structure for it as any जो bowling जो पूरा system है उसका, just to focus on something in the future. So goal oriented, future oriented is something good. We all have talked about it, but इसका कोई potential drawback या negative impact हो सकता है? What do you think?
Your point has merits, but I think the Darren Stevens ending up as the highest wicket taker is ridiculous. I mean, 47-year-old right arm medium shouldn't be someone who should be ending up top of the charts. I think there should be that balance between bat and ball. I know the thing is कि आप जो fabricate करें conditions को and उसमें जो है फिर and then you sort of take away the autonomy from the county boards. I know they already have a lot of autonomy, तो इतना थोड़ा सा खुद से decision लेने में इतना problem नहीं भी होगा. But uh, still, I kind of agree with what Rob Key is doing right now. But I think that parallel is extremely enlightening about the Pakistan system. So please shed light on that.
हाँ, I think हमने पहले ही बात की हुई है how there were things that had started to they were in the initiation phase के वसीम खान and एहसान मानी वाले time पे, and one of that thing was changing the domestic style of play. Structure तो change कर लिया था, they had moved on from the region six to the six regions, और उसमें they wanted to the basic principle था going for क्वालिटी ओवर क्वांटिटी जो ऑस्ट्रेलियन प्रिंसिपल है. आई थिंक उसके भी पीपल हु टॉक्ड अबाउट अगेंस्ट इट, उनके भी मेरिट्स टू द पॉइंट्स वर के पॉपुलेशन डिफरेंस, स्टाइल डिफरेंस और आपकी डेमोग्राफिक का फर्क है विच द स्ट्रक्चर यू ट्राइंग टू रेप्लिकेट. बट ये वाला जो पॉइंट है जो ये हमने बात की थी आपकी कंडीशंस चेंज करने का, फेवरिंग टू अ स्पेसिफिक स्टाइल, यानी पाकिस्तान में जो वो going from completely batting friendly surfaces to having an even match by changing the types of balls. तो वही कुकाबुरा ड्यूक वाला जो स्ट्रक्चर जो सीन था, प्लस यू हैव टू सी व्हाट इंग्लैंड इज डूइंग राइट नाउ, उस पर रिफ्लेक्ट करने के लिए उस टाइम पे हम ये बात कर रहे थे कि ये क्या इनको, आई थिंक जो एक ड्रॉबैक या एक डिफरेंट थिंग थी वो ये थी कि उनका जो गोल जो था, दे वर नॉट एबल टू प्रोजेक्ट इट दैट वेल, कि उन्होंने इसको सही तरह बताया ही नहीं कि किस गोल की वजह से वो ये करें. यानी हमें तो ये बात पता है ना कि इंग्लैंड इज डूइंग इट because they have the ashes in mind, they're moving on from a specific set of bowlers to a different type of bowlers. तो ये हमें समझ आ गई, लेकिन हमें उस वक्त ये समझ नहीं आ रही थी भाई ये चेंजेस क्यों हो रहे हैं. आप जनरल ओपिनियन देखते पब्लिक का, उस टाइम पे पब्लिक ओपिनियन वाज बिल्ट ऑन a few people who worked in some news and sports channels who used to have prime time, and basically they were the public opinion at that time. Things were pretty high on the social media and all, but अब के comparison में इतनी power नहीं थी social media के पास, so people were not much aware about the fact कि ये क्यों किया जा रहा था. I think उस वक्त भी ये बैलेंस बिटवीन बैट एंड बॉल एंड पाकिस्तान जस्ट प्रोड्यूसिंग बॉलर्स और टॉप ऑर्डर बैटर से लेके आप उसको वर्क योर वे थ्रू टू अ बैलेंस टेस्ट साइड, उस पर काम करने के लिए आई थिंक we talked about that South Africa series while we were on ARD earlier. I think Talha और Zaid थे तब हमारे साथ. So
Yeah,
often
yeah.
when we about the Pakistan system being changed और वो वसीम खान वाले टाइम पे, आई थिंक सबसे जो प्राइम और सबसे बेटर एग्जांपल है some a series that represents all of the work that was being done around pitches, team management, everything. वो that was that series against South Africa जो home series हमारी हुई थी. I think उसको अगर आप देखो you have perfect combination or balance between bat and ball, और वो representative था इस चीज का कि जो बैकग्राउंड पे वर्क हो रहा है it is paying off. But then पाकिस्तान
Things
क्रिकेट
like
में जो होता है it's happening around for a long time. हमारी mean reversion हो गई and we managed to uh, get all of it to waste, and started things from scratch in a completely different negative direction, and we are still in that stuck in that conundrum, whilst the other sides, for example England, are working on something different. They're trying to even expand the basis now.
Yeah. Interestingly, they actually overdid that balance thing in the first season of that structure. तो जब 6 teams थी तब तो जो फर्स्ट सीजन था it was actually very much going towards the batters, तो बहुत ज़्यादा जो है वो batters की तरफ tilt हो गया था. But then the season after that was perfect. I mean it was one of the greatest domestic seasons of Pakistan's history. The one in which Hassan Ali scored a century in the final, and the final got tied. That's even better.
Right.
And yeah, and उसमें भी यही था कि like that series was so perfect in terms of that season was so perfect
सेंट्रल
in terms of
पंजाब वर्सेस केपी था शायद
yeah
फाइनल में.
Tabish Khan, no, no, not
Waqas Maqsood got out in the end.
yeah, yeah,
Waqas Maqsood got out in the end while trying to clear the inner field. Or I think I remember Hassan Ali. In fact, वो National Stadium में हुआ था, I think final. So I
yeah.
was at home watching it. You know, wickets fell, and I thought that this would go in one way. But in the end, Hassan Ali managed to score a century and almost say get his team across the line. बहुत interesting. I think अच्छा you have pointed out this
And
कि वो
you
बहुत
mentioned
balanced
that
tournament
you
हुआ
were
था
watching
domestic.
at home. You were watching at home. That's the part. People were interested in that thing, in that structure. So ये
I
they've
completely
actually
agree.
reverted back. अब वापस जो है उसी पे ही आ गए. But the thing is कि Salman Ali Agha is the product of that season and the one before that, and we and now we just saw कि how well he performed in Australia against Pat Cummins, Stark, and Hazelwood. But I think we have digressed a lot. But so sort of coming back to England, they have moved on to a different wicketkeeper as well. Actually, no. Before that, before the wicketkeeper part, a lot of people are saying that making Ashes the target is just rhetoric, like खाली narrative के लिए जो Ashes को जो बार-बार mention कर रहे हैं, because they will not be able to make the final of World Test Championship, because last year they were talking about the World Test Championship. So अब जो है World Test Championship नहीं कर पाए, so they're making it like it doesn't even matter and stuff like that. So I think even though they are aiming to win in Australia, बहुत ज़्यादा reforms कर रहे हैं उसके लिए, and they're really like changing everything for that. But there is some sort of hypocrisy as well, in terms of not even mentioning World Test Championship at all and just setting Ashes as the sole target.
या वही वाली बात जो हम पहले कर रहे थे कि एक तो ये बात तो है कि इंग्लैंड टेंड टू डू स्टफ वेरी डिफरेंटली, और उनका जो opinions हैं, you could say there are a lot of controversies surrounding England cricket structure right now, and they have been for a longer period of time. जो पूरा इंग्लिश क्रिकेट इकोसिस्टम है उसके बारे में बात होती है कि ज़्यादातर साउथ एशिया और जो इवन ऑस्ट्रेलिया से ये क्रिटिसिज्म इंग्लैंड पे आता है कि when once they are not in a particular tournament, yeah, you could say in contention for something, they completely rule it out and try to devalue it. तो ये बात, I think this adds to that point, that opinion which is pretty popular right now as well, कि इंग्लैंड की ये बात तो है कि they try to shift the goalposts and create
Yeah.
new goals for themselves. So it works for them sometimes around. I think वही जो मैं पहले drawbacks और negative वाली बात कर रहा था कि they will miss important test championship cycles just to focus on one particular event. But हम इसको इस तरह भी देख सकते हैं कि the importance of Ashes in the amongst the English fans and potential new cricketers maybe, because eventual aim क्या है, they want the game to be expanding to newer audiences within their country as well, because they want this game to the cycle to repeat itself कि नए players आए, they have good county championships or calendar years, so that it may be reflected onto their national sides ताकि वो भी सक्सेसफुल हों आगे जाके. सो इसके लिए ज़रूरी है कि जो उनका प्राइम यू कुड से प्राइम सीरीज है व्यूअरशिप के हिसाब से भी और इंटरेस्ट के हिसाब से भी, दे थिंक कि बिकॉज दे हैवंट बीन दैट गुड इन द टेस्ट चैंपियनशिप, सो दे से कि भाई हम एशेस से उसको कवर अप करते हैं.
Yeah,
सो
yeah.
उनका पॉइंट ये हो सकता है, बट आई एम कम्प्लीटली इन एग्रीमेंट विद द अदर गाइज ओपिनियंस के भाई जिस चीज में इंग्लैंड नहीं होता वो कहते हैं कि भाई इसका कोई काम नहीं है. सो आई थिंक ये करते हैं, दे टेंड टू डू दिस ऑफन टाइम्स और नॉट, बट आई थिंक यहाँ ये फैक्टर है इसमें इन्वॉल्व.
England cricket team shifts goalposts, and England football team can't score goals.
गुड वन. अभी फाइनल का वेट, आज सेमीफाइनल है, दूसरा उसका वेट करते हैं फिर
I
this
actually
could
might.
age very well. This could age very well, or you might have jinxed it the other way around as well. So you never know.
Yeah. So, moving on towards, yeah, I was talking about the wicket keepers. So Ben Stokes has also said, okay, moving on from the best wicket keeper in the world, in Ben Foakes. Obviously, Ben Foakes' wicket keeping skills are tremendous. They are at like Alex Carey's levels, and so he's saying, okay, moving on from well, the world's best wicket keeper is good in long term, again hinting towards Ashes. And they've gone for Jamie Smith, this young guy, and they've actually moved on from Bairstow as well. Like Bairstow was the pioneer of baseball ideology, batting at number five. Like Ben McCullum was trying to sort of reincarnate himself in the shape of him, batting at number five, playing that attacking, replicating that attacking mindset on the pitch, but they moved on from him as well, and they've gone for Jamie Smith. Uh, so, what do you think about that? I personally think जॉनी बेस्टो को जब खिलाया था बेन फोक्स की जगह, तब वो भी गलत था. आई थिंक यू शुड ऑलवेज प्ले योर बेस्ट विकेट कीपर, एंड बेन फोक्स इज अ वेरी वेरी केपेबल बैटर, एंड ही हैज एक्चुअली सेव्ड इंग्लैंड a lot of times as well. But they think their way of thinking is completely different. But Bairstow is someone who's played like 100 tests. So do you drop someone who's played 100 tests?
I
It's like
think
the question is about both of them, Ben Foakes and Bairstow both.
I think Ben Foakes की जहाँ तक बात है, we saw it against different sides, different opponents के how well he's done with the bat. Keeping skills को तो तुमने we have touched upon it. Yeah, कि he's undoubtedly the best in England right now. So उसके I think this is part of their इस पूरे रिवैम्प का पार्ट है कि दे ट्राइंग टू फ्रेशन अप थिंग्स एट इन ऑल थिंग्स, यानी हर चीज को फ्रेशन अप करना चाह रहे हैं. बैटिंग में भी दे ट्राइंग टू इंट्रोड्यूस वन और टू न्यू फेसेस, बॉलिंग में भी, एंड विकेट कीपिंग में भी दे ट्राइंग टू फ्रेशन अप थिंग्स. आई थिंक बेस्टो की विकेट कीपिंग से दे हैड मूव्ड ऑन फॉर अ व्हाइल. बैटिंग से they have not decided to move on as well. बेन फोक्स की जहां तक बात है, आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट हिज एज, बट क्या फैक्टर हो सकता है, आई एम नॉट टू श्योर अबाउट इट बेन फोक्स के
It's just it's just attacking cricket. Now, उनका यही they dropped him for Johnny Bairstow based on के भाई attacking cricket at number. Although like because England was firing from the top, so Ben Foakes used to provide good cover for them if
या
it had fallen.
बहुत.
But then वो वही जॉनी बेस्टो खिलाना था. But then फिर जॉनी बेस्टो they feel के they have to move on from him as well. तो अब they've gone for Jamie Smith, and Jamie Smith का भी यही reason है कि he can attack. There's
और
this guy Ollie Robinson,
हाँ
he's the best wicket keeper in county cricket right now, but उसे नहीं select किया, Jamie Smith को किया.
दिस कुड बी थिंग कि वो बहुत, लेकिन आई थिंक कि बहुत वन डायमेंशनल हो जाएगी फिर द इंग्लैंड टेस्ट साइड, सिर्फ अटैकिंग क्रिकेट पे फोकस करना. ऑल्दो यू कुड आर्ग्यू कि दे completely revolutionized the way the test cricket is being played right now, the format को change कर दिया. But कह सकते हैं, I think these are the things कि as time will progress, तो हमें only time can tell कि ये किस तरह these are calls that could go both ways. So हाँ, I think it's too early to say. Obviously हम किसी youngster पर तो बात नहीं कर सकते ऐसे, because I'm not much aware about what he's been able to do in the county setup. So उसके अलावा हाँ, बेन फोक्स को तो हमने बात की थी, but I think they'll still have him in the loop. I think Johnny will move to the third level of priority, while Ben Foakes will still stay up as the second best. Whenever they need a backup, a call-up wicket keeper, I think they'll move on to Ben Foakes then also. And I think he deserves that as well, the way he's been playing for England for the past couple of years as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the second best. So someone else has actually moved on to the second best spot as well from the best spot, and that is Jack Leach. Now, Shoaib Bashir, someone who was about to miss the series of India because of visa problems, he has now become England's main spinner in Test cricket. So that's quite a journey for him. And yeah, so interestingly, like again, the question is, that Jack Lee is someone who's experienced and has played well, has certainly played well in different conditions, except Australia. Travis had just lashed onto him. But uske alawa, do you think that that's a good decision of getting Shoaib Bashir uh, in place of Jack Leach?
I think spinners का थोड़ा सा different case होता है, in my opinion as well. कि they have you have the room for experimenting with spinners. So I think it's not that bad of a call. You saw they played Rehan Ahmed against us in our home series, and उसने जो काम कर दिया था, we were not expecting that कि एक बच्चे से so called बच्चे से हम इतनी we were not able to play basic spin bowling. तो उस हिसाब से अगर देखें, सो वो हो सकता है दे आर बिल्डिंग ऑन दैट कॉन्फिडेंस दैट दे हैड फ्रॉम अस, mistaken confidence कह लो, whatever you say, कि what we provided them in case of Rehan Ahmed. So they're trying to experiment with Shoaib Bashir. I think अच्छी call हो सकती है, but again वही बात कि we're looking forward to this English summer with much more zeal कि ये किस तरह they'll be able to do, कि how do they manage stuff and all.
Yeah, the guy bowled well in India. I mean, I think he at some point he was better than Hartley as well. Like Hartley ke wo bowled against me, and like he bowled well in bits and pieces as well after that. But Shoaib Bashir was consistent.
बॉलिंग
Uh,
स्टेजेस का भी फर्क था, बॉलिंग टू डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ बैटर्स वो भी फर्क था, बट आई थिंक हाँ यू कुड से दैट ही वाज स्लाइटली ऑन par with Hartley.
right now, probably the final thought. Crawley. Crawley is someone who's actually had a lot of allegations as well about how he's from a very privileged class, and that actually has helped him in his career. I don't really believe on those things at all. He's a very capable batter, and his Ashes went really really well. So do you think this is the summer where he actually lashes on to West Indies and Sri Lanka and just takes them on and make this summer his own?
This should be. I think there's no doubt about the potential that Zach Crawley has, and he's shown it in bits and pieces. And past couple of years or se bhi pehle, a good innings against Pakistan, a great. We had a great Ashes series. हमने वो बात की थी. Whenever you think of Zach Crawley, you look at that first boundary he scored on in the
Yeah.
point region, the first ball of the Ashes series. So I think वो उस उससे you think कि he's part of that bazball वाला setup, that वो जो revolutionizing test cricket वाला setup है, he is an integral part of it. You could not rule him out from that. I think कि him I think it has to do with the fact that when do England decide their future with Joe Root. I think ये बहुत important factor है which people could overlook. कि obviously both different types of players हैं, they're playing at different positions in the 11. ये वाली बात भी है. But what do you look forward to? कि if he performs, if he does not perform, Zach Crawley does not do what is expected of him, और ये जो यही bits and pieces वाली performance है, तो do you think कि England will feel like their batting is a bit fragile? Considering the fact that where do their middle order, the 4 or 5 के जो प्लेयर्स हैं वो किस तरह आगे प्रोग्रेस करते हैं अपने कैरियर्स को लेकर लेते हुए. सो हमने अभी बात की थी जॉनी बेस्टो की, ही प्लेड एट नंबर 5 एंड नाउ दे मूविंग ऑन फ्रॉम हिम. तो हैरी ब्रुक का ऊपर आना, he comes up to play. Ben Stokes, where does he himself place in the batting order? ये वाली बात, because ये बात तो एक फैक्ट है कि they'll not have equal opportunities to project and play baseball, या वो attacking mindset वाली cricket, attacking batting cricket वाली जो बात है कि वो they'll not have the avenues and opportunities to play that in all conditions. So maybe they could be tested in different phases. तो उस पे how do they manage? I think Zach Crawley is a very key and crucial part of that key, or you could say is a key chain of that whole entire setup or the loops that they have around the bowling or the batting lineups. I think उस पे बात करते हैं जैक क्रॉली का ये वाली बात कि वो जो एक he had that technical flaw which I think वो they discussed it quite a long period of time के लिए कि I think दो सीरीज तक we heard on the Sky commentary कि वो वाली बात के how he had that flaw in his stance और वो footwork वाली against seam bowlers and how he managed to eventually improve on it and work towards having a much more fixed stance और वो पूरी वो biomechanics explain की थी. We'll talk about biomechanics as well कभी time मिलता है तो on a future podcast and I think Zach Crawley वाला case उस पे we could use as evidence कि but the summing up जो main point मेरा था कि Zach Crawley के जो runs हैं they're as crucial to him as they are to the entire England batting lineup और उसके confidence से linked है the entire fragility of the English lineup. So I think ये बहुत crucial point है. You could argue कि they could experiment with newer players, batters as well. You could say that Ben Duckett किस तरह खेलता है because he's a particularly one-dimensional style player. You could argue that Zach Crawley के पास सारे gears हैं. He has all the ranges of shots. तो उसके comparison में I think you could say कि Zach Crawley is quite important. तुम्हारा क्या ख्याल है?
Yeah. Absolutely. Zach Crawley is integral for England right now, and the way he has evolved himself, the way he has received the confidence of the management, I think he has the potential to sort of blow up. I know some people say like he doesn't have a high ceiling, but it remains to be seen. But if we're talking about the fragility of the battle lineup, I think a battle lineup that has Root and Brook batting at 4 and 5. I mean, it's you won't call it fragile like at all. Like they can obviously shift their gears as well. They can come back to being players they were before. Obviously not Brook. Brook is a natural attacking player, but I'm talking about Root. Uh, that he is an extremely skillful batter in tough conditions as well, and when the times get tough as well. So yeah, probably. So is this it, or do you have some point about English cricket?
नहीं एक बात और कि we talked about England moving on from a set of bowlers और wicket keepers की बात की थी हमने. What about England moving on? अभी foreign नहीं obviously in a couple of years or in a couple of seasons time कि England moving on from Joe Root. तो who do you think कि उसके बाद क्या इंग्लिश बैटिंग लाइनअप का सिनेरियो बनेगा पूरा? आई थिंक हैरी ब्रूक तो अपनी प्लेस लेगा. डू यू फील कि हैरी ब्रूक विल बी promoted up to number 4 or do you think it will be a much bigger task for him, something a lot to ask from him? तो इसका क्या इस context में considering Zach Crawley right now okay, do you think he'll evolve into that type of player who could be a potential replacement for Root down the order, or you could look at someone completely new?
I mean, I don't think Zach Crawley is someone who can like play that role at number 4. But again, it's interesting how all the number 4s around the world, they are so integral to their sides that whenever they leave, they always leave a huge hole in their lineups. And a lot of great players say that your best batter plays at number 4, and that's what Joe Root is doing right now. But first of all, I don't see the England management moving on from him. I think Rob Key has regards him really high, as well as Stokes and McCullum. And Rooty actually changed his game a lot as well at this age. I mean, इस point पे आके players are very much settled and sort of into their shell as well. Like एक होता है ना कि settle हो जाते हैं अपने एक role में, and he was actually performing really well in that kind of role as well. Like he was the only performer from the England Test team in terms of batters, bazball se pehle. So I don't really see England management moving on by themselves. Rooty might himself retire, but I think he's not even that old, sir. But in case if it happens, I think Oli Pope is someone who might actually go down to number 4, because again ज़्यादातर ये होता है कि either it's the number 3 who goes to number 4 or the number 5 who goes to number 4. Because number 4 is like the best position to bat in. तो आपका तो you sort of reward a player by sending him at number 4. So it really depends कि जो कौन अच्छा perform करता है. If it's only Pope who performs better than Brook, or if it's Brook who performs better than only Pope. I don't really see Crawley coming down the order. And it could be someone new as well. But again, वो मुझे नहीं लगता कि they go straight away send at number 4. Number 4 पे नहीं होता इस तरीके से कि आप जो
और ये भी हो सकता है कि they move on to a flexible test batting lineup as well. जो जो T20 में they have, which is something that is being implemented right now. You never know in the upcoming years. कुछ भी हो सकता है with England cricket. They say that there is no specific number 4 batter. हमारी मर्जी हम जिसको चाहें भेजा number 4 पे. You never know.
How can you do that in test cricket? Like,
but कर सकते हैं क्यों? If they have a solid batting opening partnership हो गई, they've seen out the swinging ball और बस सिर्फ spinner को खेलना है, so they send in a batter who plays spin the best in their batting lineup. उसके बाद obviously phases का फर्क है because test cricket में एक cycle repeat करती है because of the change in balls after a set number of overs. But ऐसे ही just to throw out a thought कि ये हो सकता है.
You actually sort of makes sense. It's like अगर early wickets गिर जाए, they send in Ben Stokes. Like Stokes obviously comes in himself at number 3 to counter the new ball. I mean, he is someone who can do that. And there was a lot of lobbying by Crick West guys, Ben Jones and Freddie Wild, around 2021 to send Ben Stokes at number 3. Like they wrote so many articles about that. They were literally campaigning for this to happen. Ben Stokes your number 3 bat kare, and their articles made sense too as well. But so you are kind of right, yeah. It could happen. That's a great observation or great point by you. But anyway, that's about it from 30 Yard Circles episode 3. I hope you enjoyed that one. I think we went very much deep into the English system, and I hope it was very insightful. And you got a lot of things to learn from this video as well. And I'm sure you would also have a lot of things to say and a lot of things to tell us. So it would be very enlightening for us to read the comment section. The last video's comment section did really well, and we are extremely thankful for the feedback that we have received, and we really hope it continues. So thank you for that. But that's about it. We'll see you in the next one.